weekly boss tier list. You know what? Sure, I'm down. I'm actually down. Are we going with this? Are we going at this with the assumption that the boss is tanky and you have to interact with the mechanic? Or in their current state? I think it's more interesting if we go at it with the assumption that the boss would be tanky. And you would actually have to interact with its mechanics. So first off, I will put Dvalin in D tier, because they would need to fix the way the camera works with Dvalin. That's not just making it tankier. They need to fix this boss. Like it's just bugs over and over. It's just no, thank you. All right. Now that we got the D tier out of the way, let's think about the other ones. I think Azhdaha is one of the better ones. I do think it would actually be slightly less fun if it were to be too tanky. Because, especially if it were to be put in Abyss, Abyss doesn't just increase the HP of enemies, it also increases their attack. And the damage over time you take after you get hit by an attack from Azhdaha, I feel like would be too much. Similar to what the Vagabond event, like the first Vagabond event, when you had the triple Kenki, the cryo field would like kill you through healers. That's not really... I feel like damage over time shouldn't do that, you know? It also has a lot of cutscene bullshit, which is pretty annoying. Should be a cleansing mechanic to remove the doll. Yeah, I agree. I think there should be a mechanic where, like, if you manage to make your way behind him, it removes the dot or something. Like, he only maintains the dot while he has line of sight on you. It's very much like an early design boss. I think some of its gimmicks are fun. I like the clockwork thing in the third phase a lot. That's one of my favorite mechanics in the boss fights. But I feel like the other phases are kind of just bedge. I'm gonna put Azhdaha in like B tier for now. I might end up knocking it up or down depending on the others. I'll have to think. Alright, child boss. Let's think about this for a second. The main thing with child boss is that he doesn't actually have any gimmicks. He's just a DPS sponge. And as much as DPS sponges are cool and all, I think it gets repetitive if that's all you have. And I would not want them to make another boss with the same design philosophy as Child. Because he doesn't have a gimmick. And that's kind of boring. Alright, so I'm going to put him in C tier. He alternates melee and range. I mean, sure, but like, it doesn't matter. It's still similar patterns to dodge it, and all he does is he does attacks and then you do attacks. Yeah, he does have a gimmick with like the one shot where like when he marks you, you can go and cleanse it on the barriers. I do like that, but I think it's too small of too small of a portion of the fight. But yeah, overall C tier. Andrius. Andrius is interesting. I think Andrius is a very decently designed boss that suffers from a similar thing as Azhdaha, in that because it was designed fairly early, it doesn't really have any ambitious gimmicks. And it is mostly still just a damage sponge. But it does have a few gimmicks that are fun. I like that you can like sacrifice your own HP to generate particles during his spin around phase, right? Because you can like cast a skill as you're about to get hit so that you hit him. But then you're not going to be able to dodge the attack because you're mid-skill animation, but you'll still get your particles. I like that. I like that there's the option for a trade-off like that. I think that's really cool. Yeah, I don't like that he's completely immune to cryo. Isn't he immune to cryo and animal? Yeah, I don't like that. Not a huge fan. I think he's gonna go in B as well, but slightly higher than Azhdaha. Definitely the best boss in 1.0. Okay. Next up, Signora. Now, Signora has one big problem, and it's that her second phase is significantly worse than her first phase. Her first phase is S tier. 100%. Not even close. But she stalls so much in her second phase, and I don't think that's a pleasant experience with bosses. And it's a different kind of stalling than like stalling through cutscenes and shit like that. Because it's not a cutscene, you can't hit her for a few seconds. And it's like, it just sucks. If they made it so that while she does the tornado, you can still hit her and you can do more damage to her. That'd be cool. They can just remove that attack for Abyss. Yeah, but you and I both know they wouldn't. So we have to be fair to that. That being said, the tornado attack is done at a certain HP threshold. And I don't think she'd do it twice if the fight were to take longer. I'm not sure, because that fight has never lasted long enough for her to try to do it twice. So maybe I'm wrong about this. But if she only does it once, it's not that bad. I think I would put her in A tier. Because I think second phase is like bottom B. First phase is S. So I'd put her somewhere in the middle of that. I mean, but maybe second phase is C, but she'd still be between A and B for sure. Disagree, it incentivizes the players to build some sort of sustain. That's not my problem with it, though. That's a good aspect of it. I like that part. I don't like the part where she just becomes invincible and then you're just forced to look at the tornado for 20 seconds. Right? That part is not... It doesn't incentivize healers, it incentivizes waiting. It's a boring attack, and it's not fun. Alright, let's do the rest in order of release. Raiden. This one's difficult, because, honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I think Sword Raiden is fucking C tier, and Polearm Raiden is like A tier. I don't like Sword Raiden. I think it's so cringe. I will say, Raiden's gimmick is amazing. If you're not one-rotating Raiden, her gimmick is fucking amazing. It's really fun. And yeah, it stalls, but that's fine if you extend the duration, the timer, right? I really like it. I think it's a very good gimmick. What's the gimmick? It's when she shields up with her electro shield. Yeah, and you can wait for the shield to expire, or you can use elemental application to destroy the shield faster. I think the sword attacks have an AoE that's too big. Like animations that start up too fast. To the point where the only way to really dodge them is to play Omega slow, which doesn't really work out that well in timed content. Whereas the Polearm version's attacks, I think, are a better balance of being hard to dodge while still not forcing you to play like a fucking Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna put Raiden in A, but I want to make it very clear. So the sword version of this boss would be lower. Next, we have the Wanderer boss fight, and I'll put it now because I know people are gonna disagree with this, but Wanderer boss fight goes in S for me. It's just a good fucking fight. The first phase is incredibly interactive if you can't just brute force it. The way that you have to choose based on how much damage you can do and how fast you can do it, you have to choose how to use the elemental, like, thingies, I think is amazing. Explain? So, it has 6, like, elemental nodes in the first phase, and each of them does a different thing, right? It has 2 electro ones, each of them knocks him down for a very short amount of time, and cancels what he's doing. And if you hit both, it's gonna knock him down for longer. One of them creates a wind current that you can use to dodge the ground attack. One of them clears his damage over time. One of them gives you a heal. It's really cool. Why not just always use Electro? Because if you use, in order to use the nodes, you have to get the things that he drops after doing an attack, right? And if you knock him down and you use your Electro things, and then you don't have one, and then he decides to do the attack that hits everywhere on the ground, assuming he's scaled up to Abyss levels of attack and damage, you're gonna get fucking one-shot. You're gonna die. And there's not much you're gonna be able to do about it. Because you've used up your crystals, your charges, whatever, on knocking him down, so you can't create the wind current that's gonna let you live. There's other ways to work around it, sure, but like, I really like it. I think it's incredibly fun. Yeah, like, the issue with the Wanderer boss is that it's too squishy, so you don't actually interact with those mechanics. But those mechanics are amazing. They're good, they're really fun. I think the second phase is annoying to people right now, because the fact that he's so squishy means that his, like, non-HP part, his shield part of the second phase, is the longest portion of the fight. But if you significantly buff his HP, it's not going to be the longest portion of the fight anymore. And that solves the issue with it, which is that most of the fight isn't you fighting the boss. Like, that's an issue that gets fixed by just increasing his HP. Because, like, in reality, it's not that long. And he's pretty squishy outside of it. Isn't the fact that he's squishy in phase 1 a huge design flaw? We're talking if these bosses were to be put in Abyss and balanced accordingly. Like, their HP boosted accordingly. And your timer is adjusted accordingly. Basically, how well would these bosses work as a floor 13? Also, one thing to keep in mind is you can break the shield faster if you break the, like, element things he throws on the ground on, like, his third attack or something. Or is it fourth? I'm not sure. But you can break the shield faster with that. Which is another way that you can actually interact with how fast that phase goes. I think that's really cool. One thing I don't like is how the way that the breakpoints end up is if you hit him 3 times with the beam, or like the throwable thing, he still has a little bit of health left, and you have to just wait for it to fall off from your thingy attacking it. I think they need to slightly nerf that shield so that 3 things would be enough to knock him down, and you wouldn't need to wait after it. Because usually you'll get 2 at a baseline, but if you play well and you break the elemental things in the, like, you break enough elemental things before they explode, you can get 3. Anyways, I think it's a really, really well designed boss. And that basically all of its issues stem from the fact that they want to keep the game too easy. And finally, we have Apep. I'm not sure where I'd put Apep. I think I'd actually put... Apep is good. I like its gimmick as well. Again, right? Part of what makes it annoying is that in his middle phase, the thingies are so squishy that like they're just tanky enough that you can't just like kill them just like trivially, but they're too squishy for you to actually need to do rotations for them. Right? They feel like overworld enemies, and it's not very fun for most teams. If they were scaled up to be Abyss levels of HP, it would actually be a lot more fun. Another thing is that something that some of you might not actually know, the fucking like piranha plant whatever thing, like Apep summon, is so dangerous, right? Because when they came out, yeah, the clown. When they came out, I like just looked at their attacks, let myself get hit by them, just to like, you know, learn the new enemies, and like that shit does a lot of damage. And if it was scaled up to Abyss levels of damage, while also being scaled to Abyss levels of HP so you can't just one-shot it, it would also make it even more interactive. Anyways, all of this to say, I like the Apep boss. And one thing that you guys might actually notice is that when it comes to weekly bosses, the new bosses are higher than the old bosses. It's very clear to me that the people who design the bosses care. They want to make fun things. And it's just management being asses that lead to the products not being as good as they could be. All of this to say, I'm looking forward to next patch, and the next weekly boss we're gonna get is gonna be a banger. They're almost exactly in release order. Yeah, basically with one exception, they're in release order. I guess two exceptions, but it's still an S, so it's fine. Rank the new boss now. I haven't looked at it. I want to experience it without leakers.